Hey, what's up, guys? So, we got a thunderstorm coming. Sounds like a bad one on the way, so you may hear that a lot in the background. But I wanted to get this part of the video done because I'll probably add a little bit more after the Captain Britain release. And I may release it after that, or I may do a little bit more tomorrow after the matchmaking. But here's where I'm ranked. I'm at 362. So I think I'm in a good place to get a couple wins this week and move myself up to a decent spot. Clearly a 3-0 will put me in Masters 1, and we'll see what that does to the ranking. Or if I can go 2-1 and then 2-1 again, I think that would be a good way to go. So I got a question on one of my videos about whether to use Illuminati on offense or defense. And I think that's a valid question. And with all that's going on and all the hype behind the team, I think it's kind of going to fall down to your approach to getting Captain Britain, how you've built this team, how high or if at all. And I've had a chance to have discussion with many guys like Pat, Sham, Updog, Darth, Zero, and many others. And I think the thing to start with is if you're going for Captain Britain and you're going to build him up pretty big, and this is what I think Sham is going to do for sure, and Pat may do. They're both going to get Captain Britain, and they're both going to build him. But I think Sham is going all out. Pat said he's waiting to see what the deals will look like. So, but I think both approaches are key because Sham went over it a little bit how this release is going to go, and they're stacking it. They're stacking the offers. Have to buy the first offer to get the second offer, have to buy the second offer to get the third offer, and there's no telling how much that's going to cost. It could be $100 an offer. It could be a net total of $250. It could be more. And so my thought is, my approach to this whole thing would be not to build Captain Britain, but to be able to get him. And so that's the approach I took. And I think if you're not building this team, you're not getting Captain Britain, you can do something similar to this approach. But for those that have this team built and that are not getting Captain Britain, I think there's a lot of possibilities to still use this team on defense, even though there are some counters, as well as to use this team on offense. Now, with the full team, it appears that Dorky has already put a concept out there, and it seems to be unbeatable. And I think that's what Pat is thinking about. I'm not quite sure what Sham is planning on doing. So it looks like if you take the 3 new tunes and you put Mephisto and Nightcrawler, and I'm not sure if it's room 4. I think room 4 is the one that's nearly unbeatable, and then putting that team in room 5 is almost unbeatable. But either way, I think that's what you'll see at the top, the upper ranks. And so my thought is the team has already been split up. The 3 reworks are not going to be at the top of the meta for guys like them. Now, you may see the full team on defense and they'll do well. And I think as we start going down and people don't have Mephisto, you can see them on defense. And there's already talk that they'll work on offense. I think that for my approach is I'm going to run them on offense. Because if you don't have Captain Britain, there are a few counters, definitely 2, but there are a few counters that seem to work. And I think that if you're trying to make guys have split decisions on where to use certain teams, they could come in handy on defense. Or if you just don't have anything else and they're built kind of small, then it's like, well, maybe I will put them in there because I know it's going to pull this big team, then that's an option. If you have them built pretty big or like extremely big like I do, then I think you're going to get more bang for your buck having them on offense because they're turning out to have more and more teams that they can beat, established teams that we see all the time. And it could be the difference between a win and a loss, in my opinion, having them on offense rather than defense. Because guys figured out so many counters to what we've seen already, split teams, the one team in 1 week, that you have more control over your path or even your destiny by having them on offense, in my opinion. So that's my approach. I'm going to run them on offense. I think that you can probably get the most bang for your buck with them in room 4 if you just have this team here. And then I think you have to be willing to split the team up once you start moving them to other rooms. And so you could make 2 teams still. You could do a team with Shuri, and then you could do a team with Hank and maybe the 4-piece. Or you could do a team with Shuri and maybe Mr. Fantastic. But you'll find ways to make teams here if you want to split them up. And I think if you're going to do that, you'll get more out of them than just putting them in room 4, because guys are going to find a way to beat them as one team. If you make 2 teams out of them, then you have a chance to make them trip up in 2 rooms, or maybe at least 1 room. So for room 1, this is what I decided to go with. And a big part of that decision is because I got a 3 diamond on Cap. I had Mephisto, so I was able to stay in that top 500. And I have a 2 diamond on Star Knack, a 1 diamond on Black Knight, 2 diamonds on Cosmic Ghost Rider, and so eventually I'd like to get a diamond on Peggy, and I'll probably just keep running this team because I think they're going to be challenging for many guys, and some guys will come in and they'll find ways to one-shot and get a decent efficiency, but it enables me to make my other room stronger with this room very strong. And what I want to do is just kind of recap what I ran in room 1 so you can see the comparison as why I think this team will do pretty well as the full team in room 1. So when we go back to week 1, I ran this combination because I wanted to try Hank on defense. And I think at that time, I was thinking Black Bolt would be the best option to throw in here. And my opponent, my thought is he was just going to get the event out of the way. So he tried them here to see how they would work. And so they didn't quite do so well. And so what he did next is just said, I'm going to take Superior 6 in here, which I think that's going to be the counter in most cases if you see a Black Knight in here. Whether it's this Black Knight with this team, Black Knight with any of the versions, such as what I had in here, where they used Superior 6, and they got him down. And so the combination of Rogue, Gambit, Cap, and Forge, which was the Sears idea, was a very strong team, so it stopped his Superior 6. And he had to clean up, and he just went in with the Secret Defenders and Nova. But that got me to thinking that a very strong out of time is maybe 1 or 2 notches underneath this combination as far as making the Superior 6 struggle. And so when I saw the results in room 3, and I'm not sure if my opponent just kind of ran out of options on how he was going to try to beat this team. Maybe the first attack was a real attempt, or maybe it was just really a try to get by Black Knight. But however it goes, the second attempt wasn't a good try to beat this team, in my opinion, because even without Black Knight, you're going to have a hard time with just a 3-piece extreme, and I think you can't take him lightly. So perhaps he could have gone in with the Pegasus and beat them, but at the end of the day, this may be the best option for my roster to run in here. And as the second runner-up, I think I will still get pretty good results going in, as guys may not know what to use on it, as they're pulled to use their Superior 6 or whatever else they think may work here to another room. So when it comes to room 2, this turned out to be my best option. And this is where I was chatting with Updog, and he helped me create this. And I think what he had in mind was saving Proxima for offense. And so we know we're going to pull Corvus. And I wanted to find ways to use Quicksilver in room 2. So this turned out to be pretty ideal. And I was having a problem with Mephisto and 6 to be consistent to get this double tap. And one of my opponents actually one-shot him. And I had another opponent two-shot him in room 6. And that's when I decided that I wanted to try him in room 2. And since I have a really big Black Order and a 2-diamond Quicksilver, it's like, let's throw him in here and see what's going on. And so when we look at week 1, the whole plan was Quicksilver in room 2 or Quicksilver in room 6. And as you can see, Quicksilver is causing problems. He's just with the Spider Society, and my opponent went in with Hive Mind, it didn't work. And then he went in with Spider Society, it did work. Now maybe it would have been a different entire trial had he done Spider Society first time around. But the idea that Quicksilver changed this match enough to get me a win had me thinking like, yeah, you want to keep him in here. And so I was having some doubts after I saw this. I said, well, if New Warriors can come in and beat this, and this is a huge New Warriors, but at the level I'm at now, I had to think about it. I said, well, there'll probably be more guys that have diamonds like this on their New Warriors. And he not only beat this team, he beat it with high efficiency. And I said, well, I've got to change up something to make Quicksilver be better in this room. And so that's when Updog and I chatted, and I put Mephisto in here in the Black Order, the three-piece that you see. And so he tried to one-shot it. I think he thought maybe he could, and it's like, if I can, I'll gain an advantage. So he tried it. It failed. And so it makes me think that this team has to be double sacked, is because when he went it with Mephisto, he tried it again and failed. So my hope is to see this week if this room requires a double sack in order to clear it, and then I can count on at least a two attempt advantage if my opponent does not have Mephisto. And if he does, then that kind of puts us on an even kill if he's running Mephisto on defense. So room 3, I decided to go with the old Darkhold and put Dakin in here. And this is a discussion with Pat, and he was pretty much saying, if you throw Dakin in with this team, it's going to screw up the Tangle Web counter. I said, well, if the Tangle Web counter is thrown off, then this could be an efficiency sink. And I did want to put a diamond on Morgan, so I got a diamond on Morgan. And sometime last week, or maybe the week before, but I think it was last week, I got a 3-diamond pull on Heartless. So I said this would be ideal. And if I see a 1-diamond in the store for Wong, I will grab that, as I already have a diamond on Agatha, as well as I've passed up on Dakin a couple times, and I figure Wong a number of times. I'll get a diamond on Dakin because if I'm able to start using him on defense, and if he makes that big a difference on this team, I'd like to have that 90% stat boost on both of these guys. Even though Wong is G17, Dakin is G18, and it might turn into something where I want to take Wong to 18, so we'll see. So I looked at room 3. I thought at first this would be my best option, and I just said, well, he is punching up pretty big. It's about a 600k punch up, and I can't expect that all the time because he has a G17 Titania, which I think is the difference maker, and he has a G17 Absorbent Man, which I think more guys will have him at G18, and if those guys have those two at G18, then they most likely will have Ultron at G18, which I do because the whole team is G18. And so when I thought about that, I said, well, with that being the case, I need to reconsider this, because even though this was a low efficiency, I don't want to use this as the guiding light to say, hey, let me put my Rogue Extreme here in this room. And possibly it was Sunspot that made this difficult for him because he was maybe more used to battling this room. And so I made the switch and I put my Old Man Logan team in here. And I just used the basic pre-taunt. The main thing was to have Nightcrawler, and I figured if Dakin was in here, it would kind of scare away the Tangle Web counter. And for that part, it did. Once again, I think my opponent was trying to use his Illuminati, so he just figured he'd try him here. And then he went in to clean up with Masters of Evil. So this was not a real test of how this team would hold up with what we have going on this week because of people wanting to get that event done. So I decided to change it up a bit. And I said, let's just see how it does as I'm shaking up my defense. And the Dakin being in here still throws it off for the Tangle Web counter. And then that way you have a New Warrior in here. He's going to go first, so that way Old Man Logan can get the assist, and he can be prepped to get his turn going with his special. I don't think this is a better option than Nightcrawler just speeding up the whole team. But if you run something like this, maybe the Zombie Juggernaut is the better option because he could be a better tank than, say, like a Red Guardian or a Drax. And so a lot of that decision to have my Old Man Logan in room 3 was based on my Old Man Logan not doing well in room 4. But for me, I wanted to go back with Sasquatch as the tank for the obvious reasons of how he works. There's a lot of advantages, and then Pandapool, especially with Pandapool and his synergy with Old Man Logan, I think that will be key. And so with those two there, I said, well, I still need somebody to set Old Man Logan off, and I didn't really want to run Nightcrawler in here again. So I said, well, let's just go with New War. And I thought about a fifth, and I was thinking, well, this is all about Old Man Logan. Just run Phoenix. She's going to give him the extra HP. She's giving him defense up on Spawn. And if she gets a chance, she'll do a health steal, and that could help them out, just to drag it out or possibly hold the room. And so I got a chance to chat with John D, because he had actually gone against Gorilla, and he beat him without having Mephisto. And he shared with me how well this team did for him and has been doing for him, this extreme rogue with the Cyclops version in Room 5. Now, if you want to run Sunspot, I think it'll be a good team. I just feel like this is the best version. And I did talk to Pat and Sham. Pat believes this is the best version, and Sham actually likes this version with Sunspot. So I don't think you can go wrong either way. Actually, I think Desir is putting out an infograph, and he's got Sunspot in here. So I think this team is strong either way. My personal preference is Cyclops makes them stronger. And so when you look at my defense, this is what I was running. I thought it'd be a staple defense. It's cool if it gets a drop and they have to go back in. And so that was what I was thinking at first. I said, okay, well, you'll just be able to ride this out, because it still turned out to be such a strong team going into the next season. And I didn't want to use this as an example to change up from using this team on defense when you see an opponent going with Skrull and Mephisto. I just think that this particular opponent saw the rest of my teams as being so beatable. He just felt like he could use this and not have a problem, and he was going for the best efficiency he could. But when I ran it one more time, and this is a huge, the absolute biggest out of time that you can get, and they just sat back and just picked away at my Skrull High Mind team and won with good efficiency. I said, I'm not going to see this team often, but it's an indication that guys are going to find ways to one-shot it, and as I'm moving up in the ranks, they'll probably one-shot it with high efficiency, and that is where I decided to change up and do something different with my Skrull. And so I decided to put Skrull in here, Room 6 with Spider Society. My Spider Society was doing pretty well in here, and I actually saw a video that convinced me to go forward with it. It was a Bruce video, and he went against the Skrull Spider Society, and it was like, wow, this is really tough to beat. And so I said, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and try this. For the obvious reasons, because you got Pavitra in here, it's Spider Society period, but you got Pavitra in here that's going to do his ult on turn 1. And that gives Skrull offense up for his ult turn 1. So that could be a big deal. And in comparison to what I was trying to run in here, the very first trial, this is where my Mephisto was one shot. And so here's the difference. So I went in with a zero concept, and I had the split teams going. I'd use Shuri and Black Panther, Shuri with Wakanda. And I said, okay, I've been building M'Baku, so I'll throw him in here. Because my thought was the defense up from M'Baku when he uses his special would come in handy. And it did. And so he canceled the first attack, which I think caused him some problems. But he was able to go in and basically, he did use Old Man Logan, but he was basically able to sack it with just one hit. And so this is when I was using the split team concept for Illuminati. And this was a zero concept. And you go in with Shuri and Black Panther Shuri. And I was like, hey, I've been building up my M'Baku in the background. Let me just try him in here. The thought was he'll get his special, and then he can use his special to add more defense up. The way this turn order would work is every other turn, M'Baku and Shuri, if the team lasts, both giving the team defense up because of their specials. So I was like, okay, well, that'd be cool. And you can see my opponent, he just went in and tried it because I'm sure he was just trying to use Illuminati for the event, but it must have failed miserably, so he decided not to keep this attack. And I think in this case, it cost him because then he needed to have a double sack to even have a shot at beating Mephisto. Even though he maybe got close going back in the second time, it clearly was a mistake, and had he probably saved his Illuminati for the third attack with 2 sacks before, he would have cleared it. So I was thinking, okay, well, Wakanda's working well, and I had some discussions with Zero and some other guys. They said, well, you're going to do better with Black Panther in there. I said, okay. And I don't think it really made a difference whether it was Black Panther in here or M'Baku, because as I watched the replays, Black Panther was going really quick and there was a chance that he could cause more damage. And perhaps if this guy did not have all these 3 diamonds on his, basically his counter for me, then it could have turned out differently. However, because it was a one shot, it was like, okay, you're gonna have to change this up. And that's where I decided to go ahead and move my Mephisto to room 2. And so in trying to figure out what to run in room 6, this is a zero concept, I put in the Spider Society with the symbiote Spider-Man. And it worked very well, as you can see. And so I was very much ready to go forward with the same team in here, only as I started thinking about how I can use different versions of the combinations of tunes I have, I just decided to go ahead and put Super Scroll in here and make this team even hopefully tougher. So that's it for this one, guys. I may be able to add a little bit more to this once we get Captain Britain and some more information on how the event is going to go. But I think there's going to be a lot of guys covering that, and I would want whatever I add to be more specific to this video. So this could be the last part of this video, and then we'll just move forward with going into Sunday with the attacks we're going to do there and see how everything works out. So the matchmaking is in, and you can see I got the LVP in here, so that will be a great matchup. I would love to have a chance to go against the LVP. I think I've gone against WHCD, but it was a very, very long time ago, and for the most part I've seen all these guys in here. I'm pretty sure Jarhead, I maybe went against him in Craven. If not, they were in my matchmaking before. But I think any of these guys would be great matches, and I'm really glad that I'm prepared for this week. So here's the order in which we fall. And here are the guys' stats. So I ended up getting Hank, and it was a little bit less than $100 for me to get him there, and that was pretty much ideal for me considering I had gone in basically on the first 2, meaning Shuri and Hank, and there was really no reason not to just finish it out. I thought the deals would be much more expensive, and I suppose they are if you want to take them all the way up to the 1 diamond, which many guys are going to do. And I even contemplated the 6 red, but it's like, yeah, I don't want to do another $100 just to get the 6 red, because I think the 5 red is going to be fine for my purpose where I'm at, and that has a lot to do with Hank and Shuri both being 5 red. So I don't know that there's any need to do that, and we'll just see how it goes going forward. For the most part, I probably will use Captain Britain at some point for the unlock, but I am very interested to see how the Iron Man version will do. So I'll probably do a video with both versions so the guys can have a chance to see how to go through whatever the unlock method is with Hank and without Hank. But for the most part, Zero is thinking that this room will be unbeatable, and I totally agree when you put this particular 4-piece in with Black Knight. And so we'll just see how this goes, but I'm very interested in how it plays out. Room 2, I was actually going to go with the Black Order, but since I was changing things up and I didn't have Out of Time in 1, I was like, well, hey, Out of Time could be really great here. They're much bigger than Black Order, and they have much more sustain in Black Order, so this could make this room even tougher than what I had before. And the ultimate goal is just to round them out with a 2 diamond on Peggy. I did have enough to do a 2 diamond, but where I'm at with Masters of Evil, I wanted to put that 2 diamond on Moonstone to kind of finish them out. So Peggy will be the next project, and when I get a chance to get her, then I'll finish this team with just doing that 1 more on her. If I'm really in a place where I can do it, I'll do a 3 diamond on the Ghost Rider, but most likely that won't happen because I'd have to really edge out some other tunes that probably be more deserving of that than this particular one. And that's mostly to get this team prepped up for the Old Man Logan event in the hopes to go for a 7 red on Old Man Logan. So Spider Society by default falls in room 3, and I still think that's a good place for them to be. Mine is not built enough for guys to not be able to beat it. But it just makes for an option here where maybe they'll just go straight secret defenders, as I'm thinking that room 1 will pull the superior 6. And skipping over, as well as room 5 might be a pull forward for superior 6. And I think I made room 4 as strong as I can make with Old Man going in with this Wakanda version, because I like this trio. I tested them in DD6, and they take off so fast with Black Panther Shuri getting assists from Okoye. When Okoye goes out, she get assists from Black Panther. Sometimes Black Panther, Shuri, and Old Man Logan assist, and sometimes it's just Old Man Logan assisting. But it's such a vicious potential beginning to the battle, whatever guys take in. I think it's ideal. And I had my Red Guardian at G16 for a very long time, and as this whole thing with constructing defenses relied on a pre-taunt, I took him up to level 100. Now the whole time I had 3 diamonds on him, and he was decent. But there was times where I made teams and I probably had bad concepts there to use him, and it didn't work as well. He does work better at the level 100 G18, and I'm not suggesting anybody do that. I just did it because he has 3 diamonds, so he's worthwhile to serve his purpose, because his value is just lasting long enough for this team to really put some serious damage on in the beginning, and possibly get Old Man Logan to claws out before the opponent really has a chance to do any real damage to any of the other 4. And so with room 5, I think this is the best version. I have a pretty strong Rogue Extreme. Guys at this level will have much stronger Superior 6 teams to take into this. But because they're in room 5, I think it limits their options with Masters of Evil. So I don't expect to see Masters of Evil used here. And so that brings me over to room 6. And I had Scroll left, and I was just thinking at first to throw him in with Out of Times. He was like, no, just don't throw him in there with garbage. Put your best foot forward. And so I'm back to the Hive Mind Sasquatch with them in room 6, which I think will be effective. It's not that they're supposed to hold. It's just to make more confusion, because I think the layout I have now makes for a very tough defense across the board on what guys are going to do. And it limits options for guys that use New Warriors, maybe just for a cleanup, or after they double sack my room 2, they could use them there, or possibly after they sack or double sack room 1, it could be possible to use them there. I have no idea. But I'm seeing some of the teams that we would use, like New Warriors and Masters of Evil, not being the one-shot counter to what I currently have for defense. So that's it for this one, guys. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. Updog is streaming on Sundays now, so hopefully I'll get matched with the LVP, and we'll be able to stream this and see how my first trial goes with this new defense. Okay, guys,